You walk the dim, narrow streets of Verona. Stone walls rise beside you, warm with the heat of the day, though night is falling. Torches flicker outside shuttered houses, casting uneasy shadows. Somewhere in the distance, you hear raised voices. The tension between Montagues and Capulets crackles like dry branches, just waiting to ignite. This is a city divided, a place where even the air seems heavy with the threat of violence. But for one young man, the danger in the streets is nothing compared to the ache in his chest. You see Romeo, wandering through an orchard, speaking not of swords, but sighing over a girl who does not love him back. He is pale, distracted, and full of beautiful, sorrowful phrases. This is Romeo before Juliet. This is Romeo, the Petrarchan lover, hopeless, dramatic, and self-obsessed. A Petrarchan lover idealizes the woman he desires, worships her from afar, and finds a strange form of pleasure in his own suffering. Romeo, at this stage, is not in love with Rosaline the person. He's in love with the idea of being in love. He cries out in poetic contradictions, "O brawling love, O loving hate." He believes that love must be painful because all the poetry he's read tells him so. And yet, everything is about to change. From the very beginning of the play, Shakespeare frames love not as a simple joy, but as a force bound tightly with ideas of fate and death. The prologue famously calls Romeo and Juliet star-crossed lovers, immediately suggesting that their love is doomed by the stars or by destiny itself. Their relationship is death-marked, telling us before we even meet them on stage that their love will not end in happiness. Now, this does something very powerful. It turns every moment of love in the play into something even more precious. We don't just witness romance, we witness fleeting beauty against a ticking clock. Love in this play isn't just about feeling, it's about risk, rebellion, and tragedy. Now, when Romeo first sees Juliet at the Capulet party, everything changes. His language shifts. Gone are the tortured oxymorons and rather artificial sorrow of the lovesick Romeo at the beginning of the play. Instead, we get rich, religious imagery. He speaks to Juliet as if she is a saint and he a pilgrim, come to worship at her shrine. Together, their first conversation forms a shared sonnet, a poetic form sometimes associated with love and devotion. And in these 14 lines, in this sonnet, Shakespeare presents a love that feels sacred and equal. Romeo doesn't dominate the conversation, Juliet matches him word for word. She plays along, but she also tests him. When she says, "You kiss by the book," she's hinting that Romeo's language is still slightly performative, a little too well rehearsed. But there is warmth, wit, and mutual admiration and mutual attraction here. This moment marks the beginning of something real. Yet even in this joyful encounter, Shakespeare plants seeds of tension. When Juliet learns of Romeo's identity, she says, "My only love sprung from my only hate." Instantly, love and hate are bound together. Her family's feud threatens their connection before it has even begun. Love in Romeo and Juliet, as you will find out, is never simple or safe. Now, by Act 2, Scene 2, which is the very, very famous balcony scene, so famous that people know of this scene even if they've never actually watched the play, Romeo and Juliet's love has deepened. Romeo speaks first, hidden in the shadows, and compares Juliet to the rising sun. He urges the fair sun to rise and kill the envious moon. His language is rich with light imagery. Juliet is brightness itself, while everything else fades into insignificance. Her beauty, he says, outshines the moon and the stars. Her eyes are so bright they could make birds believe it was day. Now, this is not the love of the Petrarchan lovesick Romeo at the beginning of the play. This is bold, joyful, full of adoration. Here we have extended metaphors and personification to elevate Juliet above all others. She is the source of light in his life, and in this moment, Romeo seems reborn. Juliet, too, importantly, speaks honestly. She worries that their love is too sudden, too rash, too unadvised, too sudden. It's like lightning that vanishes before it can be named. But remember, she doesn't retreat. She speaks of her feelings with courage and clarity. Her famous line, "My bounty is as boundless as the sea," shows that her love is not just deep, but generous. The more she gives, the more she has. And in this exchange, in Act 2, Scene 2, an exchange that will form actually part of your end-of-year assessment, we also notice a subtle return of form. Their lines once again echo the sonnet. Shakespeare is suggesting that their souls are in harmony. Even in secret, even in darkness, they speak the same poetic language. Of course, not everyone in the course of the play sees love in this way. Mercutio mocks Romeo's romanticism, calling love little more than a dream, something insubstantial. The nurse, meanwhile, treats love much more practically. She wants Juliet to marry well, and she teases her. She also makes a whole series of quite rude sexual jokes. And these voices offer contrast. They remind the audience that love can be comic, it can be funny, it can be cynical, or it can be strategic. What this does is makes Romeo and Juliet's bond stand out all the more. Their love is idealistic, yes, it's poetic, but it's also passionate and it's instinctive. It defies the feud between Montague and Capulet. It defies social expectations, and you will see in the play that at times it seems to defy time itself. That's what makes it so dangerous. Now, love in the play is never free from threat. Romeo himself senses it mysteriously before going to the Capulet ball. He fears some consequence hanging in the stars that's going to lead to his untimely death. Juliet, too, imagines finding Romeo dead in a tomb. Their passion, their love, is constantly interrupted by images of violence, of death, and of endings. Now, this creates really intense dramatic irony. Remember, the audience knows from the prologue how the story will end. We hear Romeo's declarations of eternal love, and yes, we feel their beauty, but we also sense the doom that lies ahead. Their love feels brighter because it burns against this dark background. Every kiss they share, every vow they make towards one another is laced with this urgency and a sense of it being fleeting, transient. It cannot last, and so it feels like it matters more. By the end of the second act, which is roughly where you're going to be by the time you are sitting this exam, Shakespeare has painted a portrait of young love that is poetic, it's thrilling, but it is bound for tragedy. He's moved Romeo from a boy, really, imitating love, performing love, to one who is truly experiencing it. He's given Juliet a voice of strength and insight, and he has surrounded their private joy with the dark shadows of public hate. In your own analysis in the exam, remember to look deeply and closely at the language. We need to explore language. How is it that particular metaphors, specific images, even the structure and the sequencing of scenes, how do they all shape our understanding of love? Look at contrasts too, in a play that's full of contrasts. Contrasts between characters, between different types or attitudes towards love, between light and dark, life and death, love and hate. And above all, consider how Shakespeare makes us, the audience, feel. How he captures that intensity of love at first sight, as well as the terrible beauty, the tragic beauty of a love that must end too soon. So Romeo and Juliet, then, is not just a story of romance. It's a story of resistance, of risk, and of two young voices trying to find harmony in a world that just won't let them.